Welcome to another edition of the Knudson Garden Update. This is the last update we're going to do in the year 2020. So let's take a look at some interesting things that are happening in our garden. We're going to focus on our Luffa, and we're going to focus on our Jujube and some of the adaptations that they have, both to help us, that we have humans have engineered, as well as what some of the things plants came up with on their own. So let's take a look at what we've got.
All right, we took a look at our Luffa last time, and it is definitely starting to die. It does not like this cold weather. But what I'm really interested in right now are the Luffa gourds themselves. And they're starting to dry up, they're starting to shrivel, and they're really light right now. Okay, they're really starting to dry out and lose their water weight. So the big question is, what is on the inside of these Luffa gourds? So I'm just going to pick this one, the little guy, and we're going to take a look and see what is inside of this gourd. We're going to kind of peel some of this skin off, okay, and see why maybe we would want to grow a Luffa. So I'm going to work some of this off, and then we'll show you what's inside of it. Now that we've got some of this skin off of our Luffa gourd, we can see the inside really has this really fibrous interior. It's even kind of spongy, okay? And what we want to do is let these Luffas dry out. This is an example of artificial selection. Humans noticed that these kinds of Luffas made these fibrous fruits, and over the years we have selectively bred them so that we could take advantage of this resource. A lot of you might have used Luffas in the shower or maybe in your kitchen. They're great for scrubbing, okay? And they have this kind of soft, fibrous interior. And what we're going to do is we're going to let the rest of these Luffas dry out. There's still quite a bit of water weight in a lot of them. So we're going to let them dry out a little bit longer. And then what we can do is take them, let them dry out, and we could embed them in our soap that we make, or we could just cut them up and sell chunks of Luffa, okay, or even give them away to you guys. They're really cool. And it's a great example of artificial selection. Next, we're going to look at another adaptation that our Jujube came up with all on its own. Humans aren't really a big fan of this adaptation. We didn't breed for it, but it's there, and it definitely helps the Jujube. So let's go take a look at what's going on there. All right, if you look at our Jujube, one, it's lost all of its leaves. It's cold, so it is going dormant for the winter while it's cold. But here's what I want you to look at. We've talked about these before. This Jujube makes thorns. It makes a lot of thorns. You wouldn't want to walk into this big thorny mess. Every single branch is covered in these big thorns that are an inch or two long. They are very sharp. Why do you think the Jujube is growing these thorns? It takes a lot of energy to grow all of these thorns. What would be the advantage of having thorns? I bet a lot of you have probably guessed it. These thorns protect the Jujube from predators. So if I want to come along, if I'm a great big large mammal, maybe a giant sloth during the ice ages, and I come up to this Jujube, I'm going to think twice before I chew the whole thing up. I don't want to get into these thorns. If I'm a bear or some other omnivore, or maybe an ungulate, like a deer or some kind of an elk, I'm going to think twice before I get into this Jujube, because I don't want to get poked with all of these thorns. This is an example of a natural adaptation. Over the years, as Jujubes have grown, the ones that were able to grow thorns were more likely to withstand being eaten, and because they weren't eaten, they were able to reproduce. Okay, so this is a great example of natural selection, where our jujube has this great adaptation, at least for it, not necessarily for Mr. Gasco, who doesn't want to get poked, right? And not for you all, who also don't want to get poked. So keep in mind, jujube has delicious fruit, and a lot of people think that they have medicinal value. That hasn't been really proven scientifically, but a lot of people prize these jujube fruits. They actually spend a lot of money for them to make teas out of and other kind of herbal infusions. But the jujube is protecting itself. It's growing all these thorns. So a great example of an adaptation that the jujube came up with. Humans, though, we don't really want this adaptation, but it's here anyway, and we'll deal with it because it's part of our garden, and we'll take care of it, and we'll eat some of its fruit. Last thing I want to talk about is our purple pole beans. And as you can see, our pole beans are not liking this cold weather. But fortunately for us, they were able to produce purple beans before they started to die. So I'm going to pick some of these pole beans, okay? Some of them we would have liked to have gotten a little bit larger, but we've got a pretty good harvest here. These purple pole beans are also an example of artificial selection, okay? Humans kind of like this purple color. So we've been able to selectively breed the purple color into our pole beans. Now, whether we bred this from pole beans that were originally green, or maybe they were always kind of purple and we bred them to be that nice deep purple color, I'm not sure. I'd have to look into it. But it definitely is a trait that humans have selectively bred for over the years. And what's really interesting about our purple pole beans is, yes, they have this purple color in them, but if you were to throw these in boiling water and just kind of steam them for a little bit, what you would find is that they would go from purple to green. And it's kind of a cool trait that they have. And if we were here in school together, we would take a look at it. But that's our purple pole beans, an example of artificial selection, humans selectively breeding this purple color over a few hundred years so that we have beans that are purple instead of green, because why not? Humans are kind of weird like that. We like to play around with things. So I'm going to pick some more of these purple pole beans. It's probably all the harvest we're going to get because, again, cold temperatures are just killing this pole bean. It likes weather 60 degrees or warmer. It does not like it when it gets cold. Now, before we move on from our pole bean, I do want to note our stick in the ground experiment. We got about 3 beans off of this, but note, the pole bean climbed up that stick, and then the weight of the vine just pulled that pole down, that little stick. It wasn't strong enough to hold that pole bean vine. On the other hand, our more structurally sound, our stronger cone is able to hold those vines up just fine. And in fact, we probably could have purchased more bamboo rods, because it's clear that the pole bean wanted to keep going up. It probably could have gone up another 3 or 4 feet and been happy. But here's our little experiment. Bad engineering. Stick in the ground is not nearly as strong as a cone. And last thing before we move on from this garden, I do want to note some plants that are enjoying the cold weather. Our lettuce. Our tennis ball lettuce is really liking this cold weather. It's happy. You can see we've got lettuce growing, and even though it's getting down into the 30s at night, Our lettuce is just happy as can be. It likes the cold weather. It can handle weather just below freezing. And so as time goes on, we're just going to let this lettuce keep growing, and hopefully in January, maybe in February, we'll be able to harvest some lettuce. And also note, our carrots are okay. They're not growing real fast. They would like it to be a little bit warmer, but they're still all right. They'll make it through the winter and then really start taking off when it gets warm again in January.
All right, so that's it for our last edition of the Knudson Garden Update for the year 2020. Have a safe Christmas. Have a safe, happy holidays. Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate. Enjoy yourselves. Stay safe. Stay home. Wear a mask. And eat some good food. That's pretty good.